Hi there, Kira here with another layout process video for our weekly challenge. This week's challenge is to create a layout inspired by your favorite book. So my favorite books are the Harry Potter series. So I'm going to make a layout inspired by that. So I picked this quote, mischief managed, for this picture of my son Elliot, because he is mischief. That's all he does, is just, he's trouble. And this picture that I took of him, he was actually getting into stuff he wasn't supposed to in my craft room. And I was like, Elliot, no, don't touch that. And he looked over at me and just gave me this big grin, because he was so proud of himself for being bad. And so I snapped the picture. It's not a very good picture. It's not very clear. It's kind of fuzzy because he's moving. So I just did it in black and white and thought it worked just fine. So I wanted to scrap this picture of him because he is my little mischievous baby. So I found this, it's like a printable, I guess, online. I just Googled mischief managed and found in like the Google images or whatever. So it's got kind of like this, Harry Potter-ish font, I guess. And I decided to cut that out on my cut file, and I did it on black cardstock and then backed it with like this star paper behind it. And then I'm going to go ahead and hand stitch around that title. This is my first draft. This is not how the layout turns out, and you will see what happens. But I do stitch around my entire layout. I considered doing like a teal or a blue or something, but I just ended up going with white. And there is my final stitched title. So at this point I'm like, oh, okay, I liked it. I wasn't in love with it at this point, but I was like, let's just keep going with your original idea. And so I punched out all these stars and I glued them all on and bumped some of them up on foam, and then there you have it. So I hate it. Hate it, you guys. I texted it to Mary and I was like, I need to walk away. I'm not liking how this is looking. And she's like, oh, just add splatters. Like, just walk away, come back. But I think it just needs splatters. I really like how it's looking. And I was like, I hate it. I just absolutely hate it. So then I was laying on my bed. It was nap time, and that's my craft. And I was laying in my bed thinking about the layout. And I looked over and saw on the Cricut mat that I had still had the word mischief that was perfectly cut out. And I was like, well, what if I just take off the mischief and use that as part of my title, and then put it on a different color cardstock and just kind of build from there. So then I was like, okay, let's move this other one aside and then see what I have on my desk here. So I was looking through papers on my desk, and I had this brick paper, and I was like, that would actually be kind of nice. So I put the brick paper down, I got the mischief down, I found these red thickers and spelled out managed with those. And then I was like, I have all these Harry Potter printables, like these Project Life card printables. And I was like, I could probably print some of those out for my layers. So I printed out those. So that plaid paper you see back there, that's one of the printables. The black and white spots, that's a printable. The like Gryffindor stripes, that's one of the printables. And so I cut those out and started layering them behind my photo. And I was like, oh, I'm liking how this looks. This is looking a lot better to me. So then I start, and I don't have my camera on at this point because I'm like not sure this is the direction I want to go in. But now I'm getting excited. Now I'm getting excited with how it's looking. So I'm like not thinking of turning on my camera, and I'm just texting pictures to Mary like, okay, well, what do you think? What do you think about this? Like, how's this looking? And so I'm liking how it's looking. And so finally I'm like, okay, I'm going to maybe stamp on the back of this paper, but I didn't want to ruin the paper because this is the only paper I have, this is brick. So then I stamped on vellum and laid it on top to see how it looked. I was like, okay, I like how that's looking. So then I decided to stamp on the actual background. So I have this stamp from Studio Calico, and I believe it's just called Magic or something about magic, but it's basically a Harry Potter stamp without being actually Harry Potter. So I wanted to use some of these stamps from that stamp set, and I'll link it below so you can check out the full stamp set. But I just kind of stamp it throughout the page, and I'm thinking that was starting to look really good. And pretty much how you see how it's like layered right now, that's how it's going to be. So all my layers are attached at this point. I just haven't attached the title yet. And my camera does cut out the end because my camera was dying at this point. I was not very prepared for this, for getting inspired here, because that sometimes happens where you're just you're not filming, or you are filming and you're not really thinking about anything else, but just you're in the moment with your layout. I also added a few of the citrus twist stamps. There's some that say, I think one says shenanigans, and there's something else that it says. And so I just kind of stamped those around the page as well. I'm going to go ahead and glue down my thickers because I know they're not going to stay. And then I'm going to glue down Mischief, but I'm not going to glue it completely down. I'm just going to kind of glue it in the middle, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew along that so it kind of stays in place and gives it another kind of textural element to it as well. And, you know, I love this layout. I'm obsessed with this layout. I don't know, it's probably just because it's Harry Potter themed, but it's not too Harry Potter themed, in my opinion. Like, it's not like I've got, you know, a bunch of Harry Potter memorabilia on this. Like, the whole point was just to be inspired by Harry Potter and create this layout about my son being mischievous. And I think it turned out absolutely perfect. Down in the bottom cluster there, I've got that little flare says hashtag the struggle is real. And then I've got a couple little chipboard elements. I also have a flare that says I love you up by my son's picture. And those are made by my friend Becky. I'll link her Etsy shop below if you wanted to check out her flares that she has listed there. But yeah, so this will pretty much kind of finish off my layout, besides just adhering everything down. And I'll go ahead and just adhere the picture down. I wanted the picture kind of tucked under the M of Mischief. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some twine onto that tag, and that'll fill up kind of some of that white space below the tag between the M and the side of the paper. And I'll also add some twine to the top of the layout as well, just to bring that element to the top. And I will stamp my date on the tag that's below that Shine On ephemera piece. I'll add the a date stamp there. But that'll pretty much finish it off. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you haven't yet joined our Facebook group, come and find us. We're Create, Craft, Repeat Community on Facebook. I will link this challenge over there, and you can add your layouts in the comments if you decide to join in on the challenge with us. So you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week for another Create, Craft, Repeat challenge. Have a good day. Bye.